is Zach with Android Digest, and I'm really excited to bring you this review today on the Chromebook 360. Now this is the 14-inch version of the Chromebook 360. This is the version from Best Buy, and it released at $599. It has an i3 processor, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and 64 gigabytes of storage. So there are some other variations of this model out there. Like at Walmart, there is a 15-inch version of this device with less RAM, and it's a little cheaper. So for you and a lot of other people, are wondering if this device is any good, if it's worth purchasing. So we're going to review this model and let you know what we think. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take a look at the device. Now, on this side, we have a USB-C port on the left side. We also have a headphone jack, and we also have an SD card slot. So those are definitely very welcome on this device. You also have the power button here as well, which is also a welcome thing, because if you have it, if you don't have it, you don't have power. On this side here, on the right side of the device, we have volume up and down. We also have a regular USB port, and we have a USB-C port as well. That means you could use both sides to charge this device, which is awesome to see, because I know I've had a lot of times the charger on the left side of my couch, and I'm on the very right side, and it works out well. But when I'm on the right side, I also want a charger that's on the right side, so I'm not bending it around and tangling it around my feet. So that's really something I really like about this device. Next thing I want to show you is the bottom here. So these two things here, they keep the device from sliding. They keep them from sliding around when it's on your lap, so it's nice and steady. They also keep it lifted a little bit higher because this device does have a fan. So it is an i3 processor. It does have a fan with it. But you got these little holes here, and that allows the air to sort of vent out. Now the next thing I want to look at is the display. Is the display good? Is the display bad? The display is good. I would say the display is good, and the reason is, yes, it does have a 1920 by 1080 full HD screen. Sounds really good because a lot of these laptops out there don't have HD screens, so it is good, but it isn't quite as bright as I would like. So for my devices, I typically like them to have about 300 nits of brightness, and that's what you see in the Asus Chromebook C434. You also see that as well, or about 280 nits in the Dell Inspiron Chromebook, but this device only has about 230 nits. So the display is a little lacking. Not something I was particularly fond of, but it's not bad at the same time. You bump up your brightness to about 80%. So if you're like me, most of my devices I have about 50% brightness. I'm just fine, and I go through my day. I save a little bit of battery life. Well, with this device, I have to have it at about 80% brightness to get me by. So I'm okay with that. It doesn't completely ruin the experience, but just keep in mind it's a little bit dull as far as the colors go, and it's not quite as bright as some Chromebooks compared to it. So that's one of the weaknesses of the Chromebook, but this Chromebook really excels with performance. Now this device is a beast of a performer. I definitely love the performance, and I really enjoyed using it because this device has an i3 processor and it has 8 gigabytes of RAM. So that means it's going to be very fast because a lot of devices compared to it are using a M3 processor. So the Samsung Chromebook Plus, for example, the Asus C434, these devices use a slower processor. So for me, I personally like the idea of having a very fast device. And for this device here, I've been able to pull up 15 to 20 different tabs on Chrome at a time. I was able to pull some very intensive apps and load those, and it went very smoothly. I didn't have a lot of hiccups. So compared to the Chromebook Plus, which I've also used in the past, I really enjoyed the performance on this device. Now the keyboard and the trackpad. The keyboard is very good. In fact, I would say it's one of the best keyboards I really use on a Chromebook, period. You see, it's very nice. It's got very nice travel to the keys, so I definitely enjoyed using it. Your average person, if you're like me, well, maybe not your average person, because me, I'm very picky with keyboards. And all these keyboards nowadays, I'm not a fan. I am not a fan of these small, thin, shallow keyboards where when you put your fingers on them and you have freak fingers like mine that point and you put them on the keyboard and you press them hard, it's almost bending the keyboard because it's so thin. And when I'm wanting a device to multitask, I want something that's not thin. I want to be able to feel the click when I'm typing because I type very fast and I need to feel that click to keep moving on. So I thought the build quality of the keyboard and the trackpad are really bringing the device together. And for me, when you have great performance, a great keyboard, and a great trackpad, that's what makes this device run. So it is a beast for really any multitasking that you need. Now, Chromebooks don't run Windows applications, so if you're wanting to run Windows applications, you can't. But it does run Android apps, so you can run the Microsoft Office apps like Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel. Just remember, you do need a Microsoft 365 subscription to use them. You could still read files and look at them, but you cannot really do any actual editing without paying. So keep that in mind. Next thing I want to talk about is the battery life. Does this battery hold up? And I would say yes. When you get a device like this, it does have a bigger battery packed in. Now keep in mind, the display is a little dimmer, right? So as you're using a little bit of a dimmer display, you have to keep the brightness a little higher. And when you have to keep the brightness higher, that does take a little more battery away. But when you compare this to competitors, this holds up pretty well. So the Asus C434 retails for about $500. Now keep in mind $500 is for a slower processor, less RAM. But for about $500, you'll get a device that has slightly better battery life, I would say, than this. But this is in the ballpark. The Chromebook 360 is in the conversation. Now you compare this to the Samsung Chromebook Plus, this is going to have much better battery life than that. So keep in mind, compared to the high competitors, it's going to be within the same ballpark. For me, it lasted roughly 7 hours of use, and that's because I do a lot of intensive stuff. Could be a little different for you. You might get a little less than me. You might get a little more than me. I would say it really depends, but for me, I was able to get between 6 and 8 hours normally, and that's sort of my daily usage on it. So, the pros of this device, it's a really nice device. It has a great keyboard, it has a great trackpad, it has great performance, and the display is good and okay. But some of the cons of the device, one of them I want to mention to you is it's a little heavy. It's a little heavy, it's 14 inches, and because it's got this i3 processor and it's got a fan and all these other things, it is a little bit heavy for your average user. So with that being said, I wouldn't say it's something that if you want something very light, you might not want this. But look, all Chromebooks really 12 inches or bigger are still pretty heavy anyway. So personally, I didn't mind the weight. I thought it was alright. Another con of the device, outside of this weight, is really just the display. It's just a little bit dull on the colors and it's not quite as bright as I would like. So, should you buy it? Well, let me tell you who should buy it. If you want a good device for multitasking, but you don't want to spend $1,000, because the Pixelbook I think is a little bit better than this, but the Pixelbook costs $1,000. And you might say, wait, Zach, I found it for $500. Yeah, probably used, and you get a used Pixelbook, and what happens if a device is used for 2 or 3 years? It has a bad battery, and you have these other things that wear down. And when laptops or Chromebooks wear down over time, you might have a soldered on part that goes bad and the whole thing goes bad, right? So I'm talking new devices, and when you have a Pixelbook, you might get it for $850 or $900. I would say this is a much better buy. You can get this Chromebook here. It goes on sale very often, so you could get it for as little as $400. So if you see it for $600, you might want to wait. And I'm not telling you to wait because it's not worth it, because For $600 compared to competitors, it is definitely worth it. But the Chromebook Plus, the Asus C434, all these devices go on sale off and on. And this device, I think, goes on sale more than about any device I've seen. So if it goes on sale all the time, maybe you just wait a week. And I literally mean a week, because every week or two, this device I see go on sale on Best Buy. Now maybe that'll change by the time you watch this. I don't know. Maybe you'll get unlucky. But this goes on sale quite a bit. So keep your eye out. I see it right now. Now keep in mind it's in the middle of September, okay? So if you end up getting this and you get it in October, November, who knows if it's on sale. But as of today, you get it for $450. Now it can go back up to $600, probably will in a few days, and then in a week or two it'll go on sale again. Sometimes to $450, sometimes to $500. And I'd say for $450, for $500, for even $400, whatever you can get it for, if you can get a little bit of a discount, this is a beast. If you want a performance beast for $400 to $600, this is your beast. So, who should not buy this device? Well, if you want the latest and greatest all the time, I say this a lot in my reviews, but if you want the latest and greatest, you want the very best of the best, then you get the Pixelbook. Because the Pixelbook is good. It's great. It's an awesome device. But it costs $1,000. Do you have $1,000? I know I don't have $1,000 to just spend all the time. So, with that being said, yeah, if you want that, get the Pixelbook. But if you want a device that is a performance beast, but you don't want to spend that money, that's why you get this. So, you also don't want to get this device if the display is important to you. Now, it's a good display, don't get me wrong, but it's not quite as bright as you'd like. So if the display is of super importance to you, you might want to look at another Chromebook. Most people can get good performance out of an M3 processor. It won't be as fast, but you can still get good performance. Most people won't mind it at all. And you'll get solid performance from something like the Asus C434. And the Asus C434, even with only 4 gigabytes of RAM, should give you decent performance. And for most people, you'll be fine with it, and you'll get a brighter display, be a little more vibrant. So for you, I'd say that might be a better option, and that is around $500 normally. But if you want performance over display, and you want a good display, don't get me wrong, it's a good display. But if you want a great display, you don't have your brightness on 80% or 70%, then you might want to go with another device. So, would I buy it? Yes, I would buy this 9 times out of 10, because for me, performance is important. For me, I want a fast device. I want a device with a good battery, and display isn't the most important thing to me. So when I compared this to all the devices, the Asus C434, I compared it to the Samsung Chromebook Plus, the Chromebook Pro, all these different devices, the Dell Inspiron. I wanted 8 gigabytes of RAM, I wanted a faster processor, and I was willing to sacrifice a little bit of display brightness, because I just turn this to 80-90% and I'm good. So for me, I'm good with that, and it works well. So for you, you might be different. But for me, this device actually beat out all the Chromebooks in the market. It's my favorite Chromebook really to date. Now, there's fairly similar devices. Lenovo's got a 15 or 16 inch Chromebook out there, and the screen is great. You can get a 4K display, all these cool things, but those are around $700-800, and I'm not made of money. So, here are some ways you can support us. Please like, please subscribe to our channel. Like this video, please, it would help us out a ton. If you have any questions, maybe you're trying to compare Chromebooks, and you want to know what's what, please leave a comment. I would be more than happy to help you. If you really don't know why you need a Chromebook, maybe you're new to Chromebooks, leave a comment as well. I could share some thoughts with you if you're comparing this or Windows devices. Finally, if you're even comparing it with, Samsung tablets, I'm about to do a review on the Samsung Tab S6. Maybe you want to compare those things. I use both, I love both, and I'd be happy to share my thoughts as well. So please like and subscribe. Also go to our Facebook channel, or our Facebook page. Please go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/theandroiddigest. Also, you can go as well to our website at androiddigest.com. So again, like, subscribe. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you watching this video, and we at Android Digest hope you have a fantastic day.